Hi everyone, just another reminder to please check out my website at www.medyhne, medyhne.com, and check out my sessions, my mentoring, my Patreon community, my YouTube channel, Arise Humanity. I've got some fantastic interviews and fantastic videos there. So a lot of time goes into that channel. Please check it out. I also have my Soul Tribe channel on Rumble, and I have a whole range of higher school of learning workshops for you to be able to learn a whole range of different things that inspire you, as well as art, music, and books. So I hope to see you at my website. And if I can help you with anything on your soul journey, please contact me. Thank you so much.
Hum mani padme hum, 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 hum mani padme hum.
Well, I've got a beautiful guest today. I've got the wonderful Jackie White from the UK. We had a chat a while ago now, and we just had such a beautiful connection that we thought we must do this again. And so I'm really excited to welcome you today, Jackie. Jackie is a happiness coach and a Ho'oponopono practitioner. Ho'oponopono is the practice from Hawaii, which is a forgiveness practice, which is extremely profound. Jackie has an incredible network of connections, not only in the UK, but globally. And she is very fascinating in terms of her life journey and what the things that she's doing on the planet. So I'm really excited to basically focus on you today, Jackie, and hear about your journey, your life journey, what brought you to this point now in the awakening, and your sort of your commitment to awaken and raise consciousness. Really, that's probably a good way to put what you do.
What you've just said there in that introduction, that could be a week's talk, really. Especially like the last part. But excuse me. Yeah, so hi, thank you so much, Medyhne. Really lovely to talk with you again. Yes, it was a few months ago. I've really had most of August off. Just had one event that I did in Wales, in Somerset, a week ago with some really beautiful souls, and it was called a Heart Healing Day.
Who was involved in that one, Jackie? Was there anyone?
So Tim Wilde.
Oh,
Tim Wilde.
Yeah, amazing.
He's beautiful, lovely soul.
Yeah.
I was so fortunate. I'll just tell you quickly how I met Tim. I heard about him when I was at a Holistic Connections event. I heard someone talking about him. I then came home, and I just started a year before that. I just started my positive living group. I'd taken it over from a girl that had been running it for a month, and she couldn't carry on for certain reasons. Shall I start there, actually? Just to tell you about Inspirations Positive Living.
Yes.
So that was in 2013, in the April.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine had just started that a year before. She'd been on a happiness coach course that I'd run, and decided to go into running the positive living group. And I already knew there was a positive living group locally in Bournemouth, which I'd been to a few times, but never considered running it. Mm-hmm. And after she just started it, as I say, a month in, she said, would I consider taking it over, because she was having personal issues that she couldn't continue. And I just knew it was for me, so I took it over. So that was 2013 in the April. And then 2014, I heard about Tim from a friend, just overhearing this conversation. And he sounded so interesting. So I went home and looked him up on Facebook, as you do, and got in touch with him. He accepted my friend request. And then I said, would he consider coming and giving a talk for me in Southampton? And he said, oh, I've never done a talk before, but it's about time. I need to get out there. And I couldn't believe that. But anyway, came along, forgot his notes. So he had no notes. It was the most people I'd ever had come to an event. I know it was only, 44, I think, came that night.
Master number.
But yeah, amazing. But we were such a small group then, just getting started. I didn't know a whole lot of people. So yeah, it was just incredible. And he started every year for us since the new year. So like next year is going to be the 2nd of January. And he always says, you've got me hot out of the traps this year, but the energies. So he's always talking about the energies and
Yes,
the awakening. He's totally, an ascension master, really.
absolutely.
He's written 2 books with Diana Cooper. I don't know if you know Diana. I'm sure you do.
I know the name. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's sort of the angel lady. Well, certainly of the UK. And I had no idea that he knew her at that time. Anyway, so that was that. Going forward, we've done so many beautiful events together. It's really amazing. And so yeah, we went to Wales last week, which is 6 miles from Glastonbury, which is the heart of the heart chakra of the world.
And I've just been talking to Ian Welsh about Glastonbury, which is where he gets some of his special water for his elixirs and so forth, which is that, divine feminine God source energy that comes straight from the core of Mother Earth. Amazing place. I've always wanted to go to Glastonbury, Jackie, but I haven't had a chance yet, but it would be amazing.
When you do, you've got to come and see me, or I'll meet you there, or
that would be amazing.
But yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Chalice Well that he's talking about. You go to the Chalice Well and get that water.
You know what that reminds me of too? That place reminds me of the whole Camelot, the Avalon times, all that era is a sort of like a mystical, Merlin, the magician, and all that mystical sort of era. It reminds me of that energy.
Well, the girl that's come over with Tim to do this event, Lovisa Alltorn, she's from Sweden. Tim quite often goes to Sweden to do events with her. So she's come over here, but that's because they're going to Merlin and Tintagel, where Merlin, there's that beautiful iron cast of Merlin. Beautiful. Tintagel.
Wow.
And they also went to St Nectan's Glen. So she did the day with Tim with me on the Thursday. And then on the Friday, they all started a retreat, 12-day retreat, going to all these places like Cornwall, Tintagel, St Nectan's Glen. Yeah, and they're posting the most beautiful pictures of it now.
So all sacred spots that they're going to.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
Gorgeous.
really. And to call that heart healing day, it really was. It was so I told this story at the end of it, but I felt so emotional because people would come from all over the world. There was even a girl from Australia there for Tim's day.
Great. I wonder if I know it. What's her
amazing.
name? Everyone thinks that if it's from Australia, you must know them because Australia's relatively small compared to England anyway.
Oh my goodness. Helen Biggs, her name was.
Okay. No.
But yeah, I was just thinking because we had over 70 people there, but we're thinking it was August. We kept the numbers quite low, thinking in this lovely summer room. It was beautiful. Shall I just show you a few pictures? Can you make me a host and I can just show you? So this is the cathedral at Wales, Wales Cathedral.
Wow, that's amazing.
Isn't it?
Oh,
just beautiful.
Gosh.
And then when we walked past the cathedral on the opposite side, this peacock was squawking such a beautiful noise.
And what
so I took a picture of that.
Oh, I love that blue.
Honestly, this is... Oh, is it not opening anymore for me? Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So yeah, that's around the cathedral. There's water all around, like a moat around the... Oh, well, there's the cathedral and then there's a castle to the left of it. And around the castle is these houses and the water.
What's the name of the cathedral?
Well, it is just Wales Cathedral, but it's WELLS. Wells.
Wells Cathedral. Right. Yep. Oh, that's pretty.
So that's Lovisa and Anna that have come over from Sweden.
Lovely.
And there's Tim.
Oh, yes.
I won't show all of these, but you know, it was just that's the girl from Australia.
Oh, lovely.
She's staying with her sister-in-law at the minute.
Yes. Oh, beautiful.
But yeah, we were in this beautiful summer room. If you can see like the background there with the
yes.
Honestly, it was really beautiful.
Oh, lovely.
And that was a room that anyway, I'll stop sharing now, but I could go on. There's loads.
Oh, sounds great.
Anyway, I'll stop share.
Oh,
Yeah, so it was just the most special, beautiful day. We really loved it.
Oh,
and when I walked in the morning, Yvonne came in from Germany, and she's been on a lot of Zoom calls with me. So I felt emotional straight away that she'd come over from Germany.
wow.
Then another girl said, could she bring her son, because she couldn't come if the son couldn't come, and they're on holiday at the minute. So she walked in, and that was quite emotional. Well, the first three people that walked in, I felt really emotional with seeing them, because I've only seen them on Zoom, and they've made the effort to come.
Oh.
So I went upstairs and phoned my husband, and I said, I feel so emotional, Joe. Thinking, how will I hold it together for the day if the first three that I've seen have been like this? But as he answered the phone, he just said, what do you want? So he grounded me completely.
Yes. Oh, but I guess too,
So,
that strong emotion is what makes us human beings, to feel that strength of emotion. That's part of being human and having, energy and emotions that we feel. If we didn't feel these strong emotions, then we would be not really experiencing the depth of feeling the feelings that we're meant to be feeling in some ways.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was just that I had to introduce Tim, Livisa, and Anna, and I wanted to be able to without crying all the time. So I definitely did ground me. That's what a friend of mine says. He definitely keeps you grounded.
Yes, fantastic.
Not completely on the same page as me on a lot of things, if you know what I mean. But for that he was. I mean, he'd love anything like that. But you know what other things we talk about. But I do believe he's come round a lot, because yeah, we are having more conversations than we ever did. So yeah.
Right. Oh, that's wonderful. So tell me a little bit about your background, what you did in the earlier years, and a bit of your journey, and what brought you to this point now. How long is it since you've been awakened, for example? Perhaps start a little bit at the beginning and tell me.
Yeah, okay. So yes, at the start, I suppose if I start in 1997, when I broke my leg, I'd been at Marks and Spencer's. You've heard of Marks and Spencer's, a
Oh,
shop.
yes.
Yeah. I worked with them for many years, and but then I'd had two children, two little boys. Well, that are definitely not little now. Anyway, yeah. So, but in 1997, I broke my leg. I was just on the bottom step of the stairs. My leg twisted, ankle twisted as I come off the bottom of the stairs. Didn't have heels on or anything, but twisted my ankle for some reason, and broke both bones in the leg, tibia and fibia.
Oh.
Which was such a shock. And my boys then were like 3 and 5. Anyway, in that healing process, because I'd never stopped, it sometimes takes something to really make you stop in your life.
It often does.
I was robotic, I guess, like, just caring for my children, I was working part-time then, but only part-time.
And often,
and so yeah.
And can I just say, often leg and feet things are to do with, going forward and moving forward and things like that. And sometimes, when you have the injuries to do with that, it's about stopping, and it's about taking a different course, that sort of thing. Yeah.
That's exactly what it did. Exactly. I mean, if you'd said to me then in 1997, That was in October, in the October. If you'd said to me then, I'd had a hysterectomy previous that year as well, because the very, very early stages of cervical cancer. So I'd had to have a hysterectomy. So at the end of that year, if you'd said to me, you know, I'd have said that was the worst year of my life. But actually now I can look back and say it was the best year because it did make me stop. Probably the hysterectomy was to make me stop, but I didn't listen.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so then I had the leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I did have to listen
Yeah.
because I couldn't do anything. And my mum was amazing. She looked after all three of us. Joe was just at home, well, carrying on working, but you know, I was being looked after at home by my mum at her house with the boys. And so yeah, I actually had quite a few months because then I broke it again in the following May. I couldn't believe it. I'd just come out. Oh well, anyway. It was an incredible few months, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But in that time, I was able to watch Oprah Winfrey every day. She was on at 12 o'clock every day and she had the most amazing guests. Well, I'd never watched daytime telly, never given myself that time.
Yeah.
But like the very first day I watched her, there was Wayne Dyer as a
Oh,
guest.
he's amazing, isn't he? Absolutely amazing. She did have some
Oh,
amazing guests. I mean, I used to, when in my younger day, when I was a young mum, I used to watch her too. And it's fascinating to hear now who people say she is, as composed to what we thought of her then, you know, as opposed to, you know, we thought she was this amazing light being, but she did contribute to the awakening. Isn't that interesting? That even though she may have had that dark element to her, which, you know, is being revealed now, she did assist the light. So it's interesting sort of contradiction.
well, it was the worst thing to hear that she might not be of the light. That really was, because she was my awakening spiritually.
And many people, I think.
Because of the guests. Yeah, the guests that she had on. I mean, I would never have been seen these sort of people. Louise Hay.
And Eckhart Tolle, she had him on all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just really incredible, the guests that she had on.
Yeah.
There was also the one that wrote The Tethered Soul. He was incredible. Oh, and Gary Zukav.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, really amazing. So
Yeah.
that all helped me with my awakening spiritually. And then going forward, so that was in 1997, 1998. Going forward to 2010, I'd read so many beautiful books by so many amazing people that I was introduced to from Oprah, I would have said, and I absolutely loved her. I have heard recently, though, that she's back on side, that there was a anyway, we'll see. I'll think of that. What was said to me recently about her? She's back on side. She had to make the dark believe that she was that way so that she would get the information to help the light. I don't know if that's true, but Michelle Fielding said that.
Yeah, did she? That's interesting. Yes, it is. I mean, none of us can be 100% sure about these things, can we? We can only go with our inner intuition on things, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
a rabbit hole.
Yeah. So so then in 2010, I was actually watching an old Oprah. I was doing the ironing and I had an old Oprah Winfrey on. I can remember it as clear as day. It was the 9th of January, 2010. I was in the lounge doing the ironing and not really concentrating. But then there was this man that she had on, Robert Holding, from England, so English. And I just took my attention. Yeah, I took the iron off, turned it off, went and sat down and watched it. I just found him so fascinating. He was talking about, he was a happiness professor.
Right.
And yeah, and I thought I was really, you know, quite awake by then, not to all what was going on, definitely not. I wasn't even looking at anything like that. But I thought I was awake spiritually. And I thought I was really in a good place. But the 5 questions that he asked, say it was, or 5 statements, if you could change anything in your life, I would change almost nothing. So like out of 7, you had to say where you stood within that. So 0, you change a lot of things, or 7, you were in heaven. So I didn't score a lot on that, if I was honest. So out of the 35 that I could have scored, I probably only scored about 17, which really shocked me, because I thought, and there was some in the audience that said they were 34 out of 35.
It'd be interesting to know what the 5 questions were. Maybe you can send them to me and I can put them up on the internet.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely do that, because I
That'd be great.
haven't got them right to hand. But yes, I
Great.
have said it to him more recently. You know, I reminded him of what got my attention, and he said I would never use that now because it's making you judge yourself, which we never
Right.
want to do.
Oh, okay.
So that was a good point as well. But at the
Yes.
time, it was good for me because it really made me think, wow, I came up and put the computer on to see where he was and what he was doing. And he had a happiness course starting on my birthday of that year.
Mm.
And I
It's a
thought, well,
sign,
that's for
isn't it?
me.
That's a sign.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I,
You
I
know, and
remember
even
once
since,
I went to do a course and they said, oh, look, sorry, it's completely booked out. You can't get in. And just at the last minute, I said, well, if there's any cancellations at the last minute, one person pulled out and I knew I was meant to do that course. So, you know, somehow you'll get to it at the perfect time if you're meant to do it. It's amazing.
I just goosed at that when you said that. That was absolutely perfect for you. You did need to
Yes.
be on that course. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
And another thing I didn't know about that, when I joined that course, being on my birthday, it was my 49th birthday, which is 7 sevens.
Right.
And every 7 years is a new beginning for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
I didn't know that at the time. But 7 sevens, it was so perfect. It was such a new beginning for me. It absolutely turned my life around, really,
And
because
going
I
into that,
came back and,
oh, sorry. But
no,
going
you carry on.
going into that 50 year, because 49 is just obviously before 50, but 50 is a big, like energetically, it's a big year. It's like maybe the beginning of a new life, you know, a new step from the 49, because it's your 50th, you know, it's your mid-century.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But no, I didn't realize that at the time. But then I had a speaker at a later date with the Inspirations Positive Living group, that talked about every 7 years is a new beginning. And you know, when they say, show me a boy of 7 and I'll show you the man.
Absolutely. Those 7 years are crucial, aren't they? Yes,
Absolutely. And
yes.
that's because what you've learned in those first 7 years are crucial, really, to the rest of your life. But every 7 years is a different chakra.
Right. Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's a awakening of a new chakra, really.
Oh, okay. Great. Great.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just goosing at that. And like the 7 chakras, the 7 main chakras, I know there's loads now,
Mm,
or that we know of, but you
mm.
know, that is the 7 main chakras. And by 49, that's your top chakra is
The crown
awakening.
chakra. Yep. Crown chakra. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Mm.
so yeah, it was really incredible. And I came back, I was so excited to share what I'd learned about happiness. Um, which in at the bottom line, I would honestly say the core thing for happiness is to love yourself.
Yeah. 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 It is. You can't really love anyone else. You can only love someone else as much as you can love yourself.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. And really, it seemed like 15 chapters throughout that week that I was there. There were 64 people from all over the world.
mm.
And throughout that week, it was like there was 15 chapters that we went through, and everyone was a different way to learn how to love yourself. I didn't realize it at the time, but when you look back and look over what you went through, um, totally, it was like different ways to really understand. I'd heard before, you know, you must love yourself, you must, but I thought it was lip service. To be honest, I didn't understand what it meant to love myself.
Well, that's true. I mean, a lot of people don't really know how to put that into place. How do you love yourself? how do you learn to see yourself in a way that values yourself more and appreciates yourself more? Yeah, they don't know how to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And like to be able to look in a mirror and say, I really love you, Jackie. I really, what can I do for you today? What do you need? You
Mm.
know, just to really appreciate yourself.
Yes.
You know, that can take quite a time for some people to get to that
Mhm.
point where they can do that.
And so many body issues with people at the moment with their bodies, you know, to be able to sort of
Yes.
touch parts of your body and say, I love you. It doesn't have to be, your body doesn't have to be perfect in the context of what the, you know, everyone is putting up as the goal or the idea. It doesn't matter what your body looks like, but just to love it exactly how it is, and just say, you know, you're perfect. I love you. Thank you for being in perfect health. And that was a thing taught to me from a master in overseas, where they talk to their body and say, thank you for being in perfect health. You know, I love you, thank you. And then actually touching parts of your body and saying that, and just really, really telling your body. So your body, it's like it's a personality or a person, and it's hearing that, and it knows that you love it, that your soul or your spirit loves it and appreciates it. It's like a sort of a separate entity in some ways that
Beautiful.
needs to hear that, you know, like your partner
Yeah.
needs to hear it, your body needs to hear it too, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, if I get any pain in the body now, it's calling to me for some love.
Yes.
So
Totally.
yeah, and
Totally.
that's when you say, but hopefully, you know, like you'd say it anyway, but there's a specific pain, knee, anything, you know, you just say, I really love you. Thank you for all you do for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, really, but feel that love as well, what love
Mm.
really feels like.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Such a joy.
Yes.
So yeah, I really, you know, on from that, I started running happiness courses.
Fantastic.
And as I say, Sally was on one of the happiness courses and asked if I'd take the positive living group over. Um, I am still running happiness courses. I've got one starting in October for a 6-week course. So I still love doing that, but I've called it now happiness and Ho'oponopono. Because you know the Ho'oponopono from Hawaii,
So powerful.
and
You
I
know,
just love that.
yes, yes. I hear that many people in Hawaii, they say it like in the morning when they get up, and then at night when they go to bed. So when they get up for the day, they're clear energetically. And then when they go to sleep at night, they're clear energetically, because they've done all the sort of clearing of the energy, and they've got into a state of sort of neutrality and love and gratitude, regardless of, you know, what's happened during the day. So that is a really great discipline, I think, to do it morning and night, the whole Ho'oponopono. I've actually got a video on my channel where I do the Ho'oponopono with my partner playing guitar and just saying it over and over, because it's nice with a little
Oh,
bit of a melody behind it. So I could put the link below. But
beautiful.
yeah, yeah, it is. It's a wonderful practice. Really, really
It
important.
is.
Mm, mm,
And it gives me peace, you know. So, like, just talking about this event that we went to in Wales,
mm.
on the morning, for some reason, Tim took it into his head to phone the hotel and see that the room was okay. Well, I'd booked that up in March and paid for it.
Yes.
His room, Lavisa's room, and my room. No worries whatsoever. So when he rung and said, "Oh, I think you better ring the hotel, Jackie. I'm not sure they got a room for us," and so there was no rooms for us. They had not. So they'd taken the money, but they didn't put our names against the rooms.
Oh. Oh dear.
And I was literally shaking.
So maybe you had somewhere better to do it.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, the staff were incredibly nice when we
I
got there,
bet.
because we'd had that many phone calls. You
Yeah.
know, this was an hour before I was leaving to go and stay at the hotel,
Oh
and
gosh.
then find out that they had no, and then they were saying, but you said release the rooms last week if there was any that we had put by for us left. They'd phoned me up and said, can we release any rooms that we got left? And I said, yes, because I had no worries at all that ours was not one of those they were releasing.
Yeah.
And because I'd paid for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, what to do? Luckily, my son's girlfriend was here and she was like phoning on my behalf while I was on my way there. But when I got in the car, even though I was shaking, thinking, what will we do? I just started saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, sorry, please. And straight away, my whole body relaxed.
Wow.
I just calmed down and I thought, this is for a higher, like you say, a
Yes,
higher reason,
yes,
higher purpose.
yes,
It's going to be okay.
yes.
And so I just relaxed into it. I was driving along there with someone, Toby, who was taking all the photos and everything. And we just chatted along, and it was a lovely journey. And then when we got there, they'd sorted out, they found 3 rooms for us. It wasn't the 3 that I'd booked because I did have a nice room for them. But it was just the basic. But that was all, even the basic was beautiful there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, all was well, but they were so nice and helpful because of the start of the day. So I'm not sure how helpful, I'm not sure how much attention we would have got. We don't usually get that much attention at an event. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
So I
that's
think
right.
it did really help.
Oh, well, that's nice. That's nice. There's always an upside, isn't there? And there's always a reason, like,
Yeah,
maybe it was teaching you the ability to override that sort of nervousness, anxiety, and getting you to practice that, before you went to the event. Or, there's always a really important high reason that we create these things
absolutely.
for our own learning, don't we? Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that was a really good example of how Ho'oponopono can help. The simplicity of Ho'oponopono, and I think it just works so beautifully with the happiness because at the end of the day, even Ho'oponopono, it's really about learning to love you.
yes,
It's another way of learning to love yourself
yes,
because you're not then criticizing yourself. You're clearing yourself, like you say, night and day. You're clearing yourself of anything that's gone on and you're not rewinding it. You're not replaying these old tapes over and over again.
mm,
You're at a clear, and then you're allowing inspiration to come in and to take the next step forward.
So it's like you're able to chant that to yourself. So even maybe
Yes,
people can visualize themselves standing in front of themselves and then saying it to themselves. And I think it doesn't matter how many other people you need to do it with, but it's always really important to do it with yourself as well.
without a doubt. And
Yes,
literally, Ho'oponopono teaching is that there is only you in your reality.
yes.
There is only you. So take 100% responsibility for the whole of you and
Mm,
everything that happens in your reality. As soon as I started saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you, I'm saying it to me because
yes,
I'm taking 100% responsibility for what's gone on. I
yes.
never dreamt of phoning the hotel to see if everything was all right. I really just assumed that it was.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, you would if you paid for it already. That's true. That's
Exactly.
true. Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh.
So that was that. But my actual awakening to what's going on in the world, I never wanted to know. I never, there was one particular speaker that would come along. I don't know if you've heard of her, Magenta Pixie.
Oh yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so she's a friend of mine and she used to come along to do the talks for me.
Right.
Um, and she would talk about the nine and what the nine were channeling and everything. And
Yes.
then I went out with her one evening, and she and another friend were there talking and wanted to tell me about all what was going very much into David Icke type work. And
Yes.
I had a real fear of David Icke, even. I sold my ticket to go and see him because I didn't want to really hear what he had to say. I was a bit worried about what he was saying.
Yes, yes.
So I didn't really listen to that. I was just more interested in what her nine were saying about any questions we had spiritually.
Well, actually, yeah, I'd love to ask about that because she does have some interesting wisdom that she brings through. But anyway, keep going.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah,
Without a doubt. Yeah,
yeah,
she's amazing.
yeah, yeah.
And so that was marvelous.
Mm.
I'm just wondering, are you hearing me all right? Because there's a
Oh
thing
yes.
going on outside.
Yeah, no
Oh,
worries at
okay.
all.
Right.
Yep, perfect.
They're obviously cutting tiles or something,
Okay.
block paving.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, yes, so Magenta was trying to tell me that. But it wasn't until I was running a mind body spirit fair near us.
Mhm.
And I was stood at the desk and someone came in, and I don't know how a conversation come out about Madeline McCann.
Yes.
But a conversation started about Madeline McCann, and then Colin, a friend of mine, he said, "Oh, if you want to know about Medyhne McCann, you need to look at Richard D. Hall." Richard D. Hall, his website is called Rich Planet, and I was interested to know, actually, because I'd always considered, having young children. Well, obviously they weren't young then, but when Medyhne went missing, they were quite young.
Yeah.
And so it'd always been of an interest to me. And I thought, I wonder what this chap's saying about Medyhne McCann.
Yeah.
Now I know, like, there's 800,000 children go missing a year, but we only hear about Medyhne McCann. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
So I looked at this Richard D. Hall's Rich Planet about that. He's done a 4-hour video on it.
Wow.
And yeah, quite interesting. And that's really what opened that was probably about 6 years ago now. So it really, until 6 years ago, I wasn't looking at anything. But so then I saw that Richard D. Hall was going to be doing a countrywide tour, and he was going to be just like 20 miles from us in Wimborne. And so we went to see him, and literally my chin was on the floor the whole night. Like, and yet I felt what he was saying was true. He talked about the Twin Towers. He talked about when animals like are hurt. I can't remember what that bit. I couldn't look at the screen at that bit, but that was dreadful. The main thing he talked about was the Joe Cox murder, and that was a member of Parliament that was killed in London, and that's because she started talking about the 1 mile part of London that's not part of the UK.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that's for all the billionaires.
Yes. Yes. The London City, is it called? The
London City.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that sort of brings us into something that we're going to probably be talking about as well in Hawaii. The London fire that started into whatever year the fire of London was back in many years ago, that was done on purpose so that the bankers could get that land.
Yes. Yes. Like a land grab.
And
yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's so much going on, isn't there? Well, Richard D. Hall, I'll have to look him up and look at a bit more of his information. Do you think that the white hats are very active underneath? What's your thoughts on that at the moment? I've got my own perspective. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I do think yes. Yes. We've got a friend here, Steve Forsyth. I don't know if there's a day goes by when he doesn't send me information, but then he also ends it with, "We have won." There's no doubt about it. We're winning. We've won. They don't know, I don't know how you feel, but it's really encouraging to hear him say that. And he is an absolute warrior. He was one of the ones with Mark Sexton, and Mark Sexton is the policeman. Have you heard of Mark Sexton?
Yes, he's done a great job. Yes.
Amazing. So it was when John O'Looney is the funeral director. Have you ever spoken with John?
I haven't spoken with him, but he has again been a wonderful truth speaker who has revealed information that other people in his profession, and I think they'd signed NDAs and all sorts of things they felt they couldn't reveal, but he stood up and told what's really going on in terms of the impacts of the what we know is happening.
He needs a knighthood, that man. I mean, seriously.
But he'll get one upstairs.
Oh my
if he doesn't get one here, they know what's going on upstairs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he was admitted into hospital. He got something really bad with him, and he thinks that was on purpose.
Maybe poison.
And he wasn't able to get out of hospital. And Mark Sexton with Steve Forsyth went in and got him out.
That's great.
He feels that he would have died if they hadn't got him out when they did.
Yes, and that's the strategy of the dark with a lot of these way showers and people that have stood up. Even Magenta Pixie got unwell at one point. Was that related to that?
Very unwell.
Do you think that the dark were targeting her at that time as well? Or do you think that was a separate thing?
I'm not really sure, because it was, well, her legs were, she had a lot of trouble with her legs, but this was, I think, her breathing.
Mm.
Don't think she put it down to that. I think she actually thought it was an illness. But she was really grateful to the NHS, because they did do a terrific job and they did get her better. So, I mean, yeah, she was really poorly. So I don't know if that was the same. But with John O'Looney, he did a talk for us. So we had 6 empowering speakers come on in March.
Yes.
And John O'Looney, even though he was working at the funeral directors, because it was a Saturday, but he came through just for a half-hour talk on Zoom, so LinkedIn.
Yes.
And I was quite a bit concerned, because this was we had called it Empowering Motivational Talks. And obviously what he talks about was not particularly empowering or motivational. It could be quite frightening. But the thing is, he has woken so many people up. So I was a bit concerned, would I be classed as saying it was empowering and motivational, and it wasn't going to be that?
There's something to say for the truth being spoken. When the truth is spoken, it does empower you, even if it's not what you want to hear, it's still the truth. And the truth has a
Absolutely.
resonance. The truth has a resonance that helps us to evolve. Yeah.
And he got a standing ovation.
Wow. Wow.
And he could see it, because he was really emotional. He could see everyone stood up, because he was facing the audience and the audience could see him. And, and when they all stood up and clapped, you could see he was really choked.
I remember that. I think I saw that on social media, and I was so pleased because of everything that he's done. So that's brilliant. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got another one next month, empowering talks and that. And again, we've got Sasha Stone coming into it, and which he's doing a great job. How do you feel?
With Sasha Stone, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's a fascinating man. I love his ability to express and communicate, his incredible gift with words. And he's a major warrior. I know that there are different thoughts on him. But for myself, I think he's done a lot to awaken people and to bring the truth to the world. And he's very committed, I think, to the evolution of humanity is what I get from him. And that
absolutely.
And that he has some very, very incredible gifts, with language and so forth, which help us all to raise our standards, when it comes to that. I think in Russia, for example, they're much more literate, and they've read more books, and they're more able to express sort of a higher level of language and things in the way they word things. But in the English language, it's been very dumbed down, so that it's quite basic, and we don't express the fullness of what we think and what we feel, because language restricts us, and we don't also know how to speak in that way. Even in the early, you think of the Bronte novels and things like that, and the way that they would use words and that they would speak, they were incredibly articulate and had such a beautiful way of expressing things that was so colorful. But instead of saying, I walk down the street, they would come up with this amazing line that would be just full of sort of description and everything, and someone now would just say, walk down the street. So it's quite a shame what happened to language.
Absolutely, yeah. So yes, I'm really delighted that he's going to be coming in on Zoom.
Yes.
And that we've also got Mark Devlin, and Mark Devlin is a real speaker of truth.
Oh, he's very connected to the whole history of music and everything. He's really researched that deeply, and I've looked at some of his videos on that. And also you've interviewed all these people as well on your channel, and amazing network of truthers and freedom people. Who have had the biggest impact on you in terms of all the people that you've known and that you've met?
Wow. within the truth movement or within my life?
Within the truth movement, I guess, because then people will know, who you're talking about. Like, I'm sure there's
Oh,
many,
well then, yeah, without a doubt, then that's got to be Richard D. Hall. He has tried to be silenced. He's got a shop where he was selling his books, and a very in-depth book about the Twin Towers and different things like that. That was from someone else, but he was selling all things like that, and his shops had to be shut down. So he's actually not doing so much at the minute, which is a real great shame because he really investigates everything. So for me, that was the person that awoke me to everything, and from that, then I don't know who I spoke with first. But obviously Sasha Stone was the one that really, I mean, probably had 45,000 views on the first one that I did with him, which was like amazing when I'd been getting a few hundred. And
Oh, that's fantastic. How was he to interview? Because I know he has quite high standards in everything. So how
I
was he?
know, and he can be quite abrupt as
Yes,
well.
yes,
And
yes.
he was just a joy to me. And then
Oh, lovely.
on the second time I interviewed him, at the end of the interview, he said, "Oh, I was with a group of people yesterday, wherever." And they said to me, "Who's the person you love to speak with the most?" And I'm just listening, to whatever he's telling people. And then he said, "Well, do you know," he said, "there's this dear lady in England." Said it was me, and the
Oh,
people said the face
beautiful.
that I made when he said that. I just couldn't believe it, because he
Oh,
can be so abrupt with people, and yet he's an absolute joy to speak with me. I
oh, how
mean,
gorgeous.
literally.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's
So
beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was a real shock.
yeah. That's lovely.
But anyway,
Uh,
yeah, so that's him. I've also spoken with like Ishmael Perez, um, and Tarot by Janine. Do you know Tarot by
well,
Janine?
I've had quite a bit to do with Janine. I interviewed her quite a few years ago now, and she came in at a point in my life when I was going through this huge thing in Australia, which I'm not actually supposed to speak about. But anyway, let's say I was standing up for the light, and so I was being targeted, but she came in and she did a reading right at that moment on me, which was really beneficial, because she gave me the higher realm, what they thought of what they did, and they said that even though people here on the earthly realm didn't really know what we were doing, or the level of activism that we were putting in, they said that they were really happy upstairs. That's great, I'm happy with that. And she did a great interview. And then I went on her show with Jean-Claude a few times, which was lovely,
Oh,
Beyond Mystic. And then she came on my show not long ago when I had my very first premiere of my brand new Soul Tribe show on the Freedom Channel Broadcast Network. They invited me to have my show, which was super exciting. And she came on the very first show with Tanya and with FCB. And that was really lovely because, obviously she's got a great following. And so that would bring people to be aware of what I was doing. And ever since then, it's gone super well. I'm very excited. I've had in that Soul Tribe show I've done about 10 shows now. I'm up to the 10th one this week, and we had 30,000 views the other day on, I think, the one before last, which was really exciting on one of my shows. So we're getting really good views and great feedback from people, and so that's really exciting. So that's a new thing, relatively
definitely.
new thing for me. I've got a great show coming up this week too, actually, on the Sunday, which is a chat with a sex and relationships counselor expert, and we're going to talk about those things, which I think a lot of people are finding their relationships are challenged at the minute because they're on different pages with people and they don't know how to sort of navigate that. So that'll be interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Very good. That's a really good subject to cover.
yes.
Honestly, there's some people, I know it was said once, I think it was Louise Hay said, it's easier to talk about sex than talk about money. And then when I said that to someone, she said, well, I wouldn't speak to anyone about both of those subjects. But it is something that, yeah,
Mm.
both those subjects are a subject that need to be talked about, but they don't get talked about.
True. So true. Yeah.
Mm.
So anyway, back to you.
Well, basically, I was just, even though I was awake spiritually and I was going to the spiritual church and learning, because my dad passed away 40 years ago last week. So that got me on a spiritual journey anyway. But I would say Oprah's guests and everything woke me up way more spiritually than I ever had been. So I was on that of the thinking about the ascension path as well as spirituality, like a higher aspect of spirituality,
Yes.
really.
Yes.
So and then bringing it into what the world's about now, where I am at the minute. Well, obviously I went on the happiness course, then I started running the happiness, then I did 8 years as the positive living in person, having a positive motivational speaker every week until lockdown.
Oh, wow.
And then
Wow.
it took, yeah, so every week for 8 years I was doing the having a
Fantastic.
speaker in. So I knew a lot, I know a lot of people
Mm.
locally, mainly locally, that are happy to come and tell, what their talents and gifts are.
Mhm.
So that was really wonderful. Um, then it was lockdown, obviously, and I didn't do anything then from like the March until the August. And then someone encouraged me to go online because I'd never done anything online.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just gone on from there. I mean, I've had so many, as you say, so many different speakers. So on my, I think I've looked, because obviously I lost my YouTube channel. I was talking to Matt Letizia, um, and I didn't think there was anything really bad. We were just telling truth because Matt's amazing. Have you heard of him?
Vaguely rings about what's his main focus?
He's a footballer, and my husband loves Southampton Football Club. I
Yes.
mean, loves Southampton Football Club. And Matt Letiz is a god of Southampton football because he could have gone on for so much more money to another club anywhere. But he stayed with Southampton. I mean, he really is a true god of Southampton if you like football. But he's actually now a truther.
Oh, fascinating platform. And then they step up and say that because they know that they have something to lose, but they're still in integrity enough to be able to speak up for the higher good. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And so there's a couple more that have gone on board with him, a couple more footballers, Ricky Lambert, James Beattie.
Mhm.
So yeah, they're all being a bit braver to like you say, stand up and say, but I mean Matt has been on, I think he's been a guest of so many people.
I wish we had more people like that in Australia, like, because sport is so revered in Australia. Any sort of sports people, things that would stand up and speak the truth about what they know. But, I guess they're all feeling too, they'll lose their position, they'll lose their money, they'll, whatever. And it's a shame that not more people in Australia have stood up in that way too.
Well, Matt Letiz was a Sky Sports presenter
Mhm.
on Sky Sports every week, and he lost his job on that through what he was saying, which
Mm.
is a brave thing because that was really a good income for him.
Yes.
Um, but since then, now he's like traveling around the country giving talks. So I think he's doing all right, to be honest,
Oh,
thankfully. But yeah,
that's.
he deserves that because he
Mm.
is he's talking about, he's gone on to other things now, but he really, his main thing is talking about the amount of sports people that have died on the football pitch or had
And
heart attacks.
yeah, you see it all the
You
time.
know,
Mm. Yeah.
absolutely adverse reactions, but we never hear about it.
If you're on Telegram, you see it all the time. Like there was just 3 people in a marathon just the other day that all died in the same marathon. It's just so hidden, but often I think the thing is, unless you know people personally, or you're on some alternative sites like Telegram and things, you just won't hear the truth of what is really happening with the jab.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's doing a really good job. So that's where and I think that's why my husband has started listening a bit more to what's going on, you know. And I mean, Joe, my husband, is someone that will have the telly on all day. And you don't realize how you're being hypnotized by that TV. Seriously, even with the adverts, if you really, instead of just watching the adverts, if you actually listen to what they're telling you. And another thing I watched the other day, because there was someone here that wanted to see, we got a free thing of the cinema, Sky Cinema, for a month. I've got to cancel it today, I think, because you only get it free for a month.
Yeah.
So we took that on, and I knew my son's girlfriend would enjoy a lot of the things on there, and she said, "Oh, you need to watch Shrek 2, Shrek film number 2."
Yeah.
And honestly, it's so for kiddies to be watching that. If you only see the amount of hidden detail within that, it's so sexual. It can be quite the way that there's certain things around that, but there's also, it's judging, a lot of judgment because of what they look like and what their beauty looks like. And
Yes.
you know, there's so much hidden in it. If you're
stuff.
looking at it as just looking at it as a film and just taking it all in, but if you're looking at it as what they're really telling you and telling you how to judge people, and do you know,
That's right. That's
it's
right.
quite a crazy.
And there's so many things like that now that if you look at them with eyes of an awakened sort of consciousness, you can't watch a lot of things anymore because
No.
you read between the lines and you can see all this dark sort of nefarious stuff or symbology or whatever going on underneath, and it doesn't resonate as being uplifting. In fact, that's what made me want to work on a documentary myself, because I feel like people need to have things to watch that are now at another level, that are at a higher frequency,
Yes.
and that can bring in the new energies, that are ones that really nourish the soul and really uplift the soul and bring in the highest potential frequencies of information and entertainment so that we can aim higher ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. That would be amazing to have some. I guess that Gaia TV is a bit along those lines. There is a Gaia TV that is pretty all good stuff, but I've not got that, so I don't actually know, but I've heard about it.
Watched a movie the other day by a girlfriend recommended called I Am Dragon, and it was lovely. It was really uplifting, and it was about dragons, and I really enjoyed that. So if anyone wants to Google it on YouTube, you can watch that. It was lovely because I can never find many movies that actually resonate with me as being uplifting. And I like sort of mystical things, and you know, that mythology and the mysticism. And even though dragons are real and they're in another dimension and they're still working with us, but I love all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was lovely.
Definitely, so do I. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so that's it. Where I'm at today, from
yes.
all what I've learned, I think I'm really wanting to go more inside, go within. So I know at one time I would hear the words, you know, love yourself, and not really understand the meaning of that, but I do now. But now I'm more with Ho'oponopono. There is only me in my reality. So it's more about going within, discerning for myself. I know I still got lessons to learn on that. But yeah, I was with a girl yesterday who was completely intuitive. I met her at the solstice event at Knowlton Church. I'd heard about her. She's got thousands of followers, and she took my hands.
Yeah. Can I
Oh, yeah, Amanda Lawrence.
Okay.
Amanda Lawrence.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing, beautiful soul, tiny little lady. And Magenta introduced her to me. I went over to speak to Magenta, and she said, "Oh, I've got Amanda," and I'd seen her loads on screen, but I'd never met her. And she said, and she took my hands. Oh, it was just emotional. Took my hands and looked eye to eye into her eyes,
Mm.
and then she jolted. It was very, very touching. And she said, God has just touched us. Which was really, and then she said, I need to meet up with you. And we spent the day together yesterday. And
Oh,
she is so intuitive.
lovely.
And she's all about, she trusts herself. She loves everyone and everything.
Yeah.
She's not, she's not actually, she knows what's going on, but she's not having to spout the truth because within herself, she's at peace.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's really beautiful. You know what I've also picked up lately is that where I am and around, you know, the people that I see in Australia and I meet and I'm around, that when you connect with people now, they don't look you in the eye and they don't actually be present and they don't actually genuinely connect, and then and they don't ask you what you know, questions about yourself where they're genuinely wanting to find out an answer. They'll talk about themselves, but they're not making an effort to connect on a heart-to-heart human level, you know. And that's what I'm finding is missing in the collective at the minute. Obviously, you know, some of the people I connect with are beautiful and they have that soul ability to connect on a soul level, but I'm talking about the general population and the general people. They don't
Yes,
they don't really, you know, that what you just described in terms of how you met Amanda, you know, that deep ability to stop and intimately connect on a soul level with the other person. That is what's really missing, I think. And it's a heart connection, isn't it, where you're connecting at that soul
absolute.
and that heart level. And if everyone could just take a moment to really go deep when they connect with another person and genuinely stop and give them their 100% focus and attention and presence, you know, it's the greatest gift that you can give someone. And yet people don't really do that. They don't know how to do that.
No, no. I remember that's reminded me of one of my friends that come and give a talk, Jessica Woods, beautiful, beautiful soul. We lost her a couple of months ago, very sadly. But she came and gave a talk, very intuitive, beautiful soul. And she asked us to look at each other, pair up, people you didn't know, pair up and look into the eyes of each other without saying a word for 4 minutes. And you know, the actual, at that time, the fear that went into me, even then, that was probably 8 years ago.
Yes,
Um, I'd never heard of anything doing anything like it, but it was one of the most learning experiences of my life to look into someone's eyes for 4 minutes and say nothing, and then to calibrate what had happened and then do feedback, gently do feedback with each other on what you, honestly, that was a soul to soul connection.
it's a powerful thing to do. It's very healing too. I had a healing center 3 years ago, and we did that. I had a couple of days, separate times where we did that, where we came, I told people to come in and that we were going to do that practice, and we would sit and do it with different people. And people would say that they would see past lives going through as they looked at the other person. All these interesting synchronistic things happened, that often there were many tears because people for the first time felt like they were genuinely being seen and connected to, and so then they would be emotionally touched and then they'd have a release. And so many things happened in those sessions where we just sat and looked at one another. Powerful.
Wow.
Mm, yeah,
Really, I would say that's a really valuable thing to do,
it is.
because
It is.
once you get over that feeling of what that feels like, even at the thought of doing it, and then you actually do it, it's profound.
It is. It is. It helps you to connect with your deeper self, because it's like in some ways, you try and avoid who you are, or that deepest level of who you are. You avoid it, you escape it by being busy in life or whatever. But that moment when you're looking at yourself, you know, ultimately you're looking at yourself in your own eyes and you're connecting to your
Yes,
deepest inner self. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
beautiful. Absolutely. So that's where I feel I am now. You know, to spend that day yesterday with Amanda was just really wonderful. And helped me understand more as well what I need to do to go within and really be at peace with myself, which I am with Ho'oponopono, or I feel that brings me a lot of peace.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
instead of just thinking busy, busy, busy. Yeah.
yes, yes. I can I just share with you my little day today. I had a beautiful day.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I have a
Yes.
wonderful global Patreon community, and I had one of my members of the community say she'd love to come over to my island to meet me with her partner and her little pooch. So they came across on the ferry, and we spent the day together, had our lunch, and then we took them on a tour of the island, and then they came back and had a chat at our house, and then they were dropped off at the ferry sort of later in the day, or they went to the ferry. And so it was just a really beautiful connection, because we magnetized, you know how communities magnetize because they're of the same energy, you know, soul family, or the
Hmm.
same, you know, frequency. And it just was that beautiful feeling of resonance and an
Oh,
easy flowing energy and heart-based energy. And it just was really beautiful. I had such a gorgeous day. And then on the way home, we took our dog for a walk, and one of the beautiful people here on the island said, I've got some beautiful kale and lettuce in my garden. Why don't you drop round and pick some up? So we went round and they fed us a bit of their beautiful food, and then gave us some kale and some lettuce. And then it was just one of those, you know, beautiful days. It was lovely.
oh, how wonderful. Special.
Yeah, really, really precious. Yeah,
So special.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what island are you on then?
Well, it's an island. I don't generally say the name specifically,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's one of the islands in the Moreton Bay Islands in Queensland. So it's one of those small islands there, and yeah, it's interesting island life. It's very different to the mainland. It's much more chilled and relaxed and easygoing. Yeah, yeah, it's lovely.
We've got near to us, so I'm near Southampton, and near to us is the Isle of Wight.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
so you know, and that's really, I think the Bee Gees were born on the Isle of Wight.
Oh, they were actually Australian. They were born in Australia. They grew up in Australia. Part of Queensland, and the name is escapes me at the minute. I was just there the other day. I visited there, and there's a whole lane dedicated to the Bee Gees because they grew up there. But they
Really?
maybe maybe
There's
were they
something to
born
do with the
were
Isle of
they
Wight.
born in the UK and then they moved to Australia and grew up in Australia? I can't remember exactly, but anyway, this whole laneway is dedicated to them.
Yeah, you could be right, but there's definitely some connection to the Isle of Wight with the
Oh,
Bee Gees, I know.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I'll put the information up on the screen because I'll find out
Oh,
afterwards and
lovely.
let people know. Well, it's been
Anyway, yeah, that's,
it's
but
been
yeah, I know what you mean about island life is so
yes,
beautiful, where that, you
yes.
know, we go over to the Isle of Wight and it's just a different world.
It is very different energy. Yeah, yeah. There's something about that. I think we've covered so many things, and it's been beautiful to hear your journey and to hear, you know, I think that when you share, you know, your life in this way, we can all sort of resonate with things and learn things from it as well. So it's beautiful to hear. Thank you so much, Jackie. It's lovely as always to chat
Honestly.
with you. And you know,
Thank you, Medyhne.
pleasure, pleasure.
Hope you come to speak with me again soon. We'll sort something out.
Oh, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. And good on
Lovely.
you for the wonderful work you're doing for happiness. If there's anything that is needed on the planet at the moment, it's joy and happiness. Absolutely.
I'll send you the link for my next happiness workshop if that's all right.
Oh, absolutely. So everyone listening, I'll have the link below in the description if you'd like to join that
Brilliant.
course. And I've heard some great feedback about it. So you're doing wonderful work, Jackie. I hear Catherine Edwards did your course and she really enjoyed it.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, she did. And she's going to be a speaker for us on September the 10th in Romsey. Yeah. So, and I've not met her in person. So I'll be meeting her in person along with Mark Devlin.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Oh, that's fantastic. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that
Thank
you
you.
do.
Bless you. Thank you as well, Medyhne. Lovely to speak with you.
You too. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.